Lucas is a kindergarten teacher. They divorced in middle age. His wife lets him see their son only twice a month. They often argue on the phone about it. Though life is dull and boring, but this does not affect his enthusiasm for work. The kindergartners love him, always lying in wait and taking him by surprise. Lucas is a willing prey every time. Even when some kids ask him to wipe their butts, Lucas has no complaints. One day, Lucas sees Clara in front of the supermarket. He stood there as if he didn't know what to do. Lucas came up and asked. The little girl told him she was lost, and his parents didn't know he was out. Lucas said, "You don't want to step on the reckless lines of the road, do you?" The girl shook her head and said, "Yes, I don't want to." "Well, I'll take you back. You just pay attention to the lines on the road." So Lucas sent Claire home. Claire's dad sighed. Well, and Lucas had been friends for years. So I always said, "Look you in the eye. I knew you weren't talking." But when it comes to her daughter, Hill didn't know she was traveling alone. Not only that, an older brother at puberty, he often showed his sister some pornographic pictures. Collier, it was in such a poor family. Grown up! The next day, Lucas meets Claire again. His parents are quarreling over who will send him to school. Looking at a little lost girl, Lucas took her hand. Claire says, "You better watch where you're going. I pay attention to the lines." In life, suddenly someone who cares so much about himself, Claire developed a strong crush on Lucas. He didn't just kiss Lucas, I also gave him a heart made by my own hands. But Lucas taught him, kisses can only be given to parents, and the heart was returned to Claire. In the dark of the office, the dean found a sullen Claire. He intended to amuse the little girl with nursery rhymes, but then Claire suddenly said, "I hate Lucas." The dean asked why. Claire replied, "He's stupid and he's ugly. And he was a willy." The dean smiled and said that every boy has one. Claire hesitated.
Här står en liten i luften som en kepp.
There is a tradition in this Nordic town. Every adult male is given a shotgun and hunter's license. Lucas often went hunting for deer in the woods. Cryptic, cold-blooded, kill with one shot. These are the characteristics of hunters. And the path of prey. From the moment they was locked in, the countdown to life has begun. A female colleague has a crush on Lucas. He reached out to Lucas at a drinks party and asked him out to meet him. They both grew a lot that night. The next day, Lucas went to work as usual. The dean called him to his office and claims that children have accused Lucas of sexual intimacy, but the details should not be mentioned. A confused Lucas is led home by a strangler. Then, the dean called in a psychologist to talk to Claire. The news has been Claire said. "You didn't say anything," but psychologists have been directing him toward mood. In the course of the conversation, psychologists talk a lot about trust. This caused the dean physical discomfort, but for Claire, he just wanted to get out and play. So Claire gave them the answer they were looking for. Psychologists think this is very serious. It should be handled by the police. The dean told Claire's mother his daughter's early sexual relations, and it was done by someone close to his family. Then the dean announced it at the parents' meeting and asked parents to ask their children, "Have you ever had a similar experience?" Lucas in his sleep. "I got a call from my son Marcus." Marcus sobbed. "The dean has told mom about the kindergarten. I can't call you anymore." That's when Lucas realized how serious it was. The next day he angrily came to the dean theory, but the dean didn't want to talk to him. And he felt that in this case, children don't lie. "Lucas warned me to stay away from my son. It has nothing to do with him." "What about Claire?" said the dean excitedly. "How innocent and innocent he is." It was Claire. Lucas was surprised, because it's his best friend's daughter. To clear the air, Lucas paid a personal visit to the Hill house. He hoped Sly would ask Claire why. But I said I've never heard my daughter lie. So why would he lie about it? Lucas insists he has no confidence in Claire. He broke down and cried. Claire's mom tried to coax Lucas away. Suddenly, Hill rushed forward. One pushed Lucas against the wall. He threatened, "If you touch my daughter, I'm gonna put a bullet in your head." I saw Dad fighting with Lucas. Claire told Mom he didn't do anything. That's all I'm saying. But Mom thinks this is just the daughter's experience. Emergency response. As the saying goes, 3 makes a tiger. Many parents are skeptical. The same thing happened to my own children. Lucas' girlfriend was also called in for questioning. It made him wonder whether Lucas was ever in the mood for that girl. Just then, Claire appeared at the door. He wants to take you for a walk with Lucas's dog. Lucas thinks he should talk to his parents before he gets here to talk about it. Claire said in a heart-wrenching way that they said you hurt me. But I don't remember anything. Lucas had tried to comfort him, but Claire recoiled in horror. See this scene? His girlfriend finally confronted Lucas. Do you really have the temperament of this girl? I can't believe my girlfriend doesn't believe me anymore. Lucas angrily threw him out of the house. Since becoming a victim, Claire has been loved by so many people. His brother also prays with his sister, secretly shed tears of regret. But when Claire needed it the most, none of his family ever paid him any attention. Fast forward to December. Only Fanny, the dog, remained with Lucas. One day there was a noise outside the house. Lucas was on his guard. When I opened the door, I found that it was my son. Marcus asked Dad where the spare key was. Lucas said he left it with a friend. Plead the feds. Then Marcus asked about Dad. Lucas said I was fired. The police were here a few days ago, probably suspecting that I touched other kids. Marcus felt sorry for his father. Then Marcus's godfather came to visit. He cited his ostensible friends. He said he always believed in Lucas. Marcus went shopping in the town supermarket, but the boss told him they are not welcome in charge here. When I got home, Marcus saw Dad being taken away by the police again. Lucas told his son to go back to his mother, but Marcus had other plans. He came to the Hill house under the pretext of looking for a spare key. Marcus once tried to help his dad, because his father never did any of those things, but no one did anything about it. Then Marcus asked Claire a few words.
Hej Clara.
Hej.
Har du det godt? Hvorfor lå du min far?
Det gør jeg
Clara.
ikke.
Tror du ikke det? Markus, så stopper der. Er du med? Jeg tror lige, du lader pigen være. Det er fandme nu. Hvad fanden det er?
Bare snak
Så er det bare ude, du.
Jeg skal snakke med dig!
Det er fandme nok, du. Markus, stop det der.
Hvorfor lå du min far, dit svin?
Det kan du bare ikke, det her. Markus, så er der med. Det er bare ude, jeg kan opgive dig. Så stopper du. Så er det fandme nok, der. Hvad satan? Johan, for helvede. Stop nu, Johan. Kom så her. Johan, du stop. Kom nu her. Hjælp mig, mand. Gå væk, Clark. Kom med. Og så kommer du hjem. Ja, skrid med dig. Smut hjem med dig. Kom med. Skrid så med dig.
Hvor er du fucking svin, mand?
Kom så. Kom.
Marcus went to his godfather's house that night. The godfather introduced him to his family. They sat together and got to know Lucas. The godfather said there would be a preliminary hearing tomorrow. There are 2 outcomes. You can either be convicted and detained early, or acquitted for lack of evidence. Marcus asked him, which one do you think it will be? The godfather said, I don't know. But so far, all the kids are telling the same story. They all described your basement in great detail. But when the police looked into your home today, there is no basement. Kids these days are so imaginative. It seems there is still hope. Early the next morning, Lucas was released without charge. Father and son embraced. They sent Lucas home. A day and a night of separation. Finally got a chance to go to the bathroom. Father and son are preparing dinner in the kitchen. Suddenly a rock flew in. Almost hit them. Lucas rushed out angrily. It's pitch black outside. He saw a bag lying on the ground. Open it up! Inside are angry bodies. He had been strangled to death. Marcus was furious. He's going to kill those people. The sky began to rain heavily. The godfather came to visit. Lucas has sent his son back to his mother's house. Now all he wanted was to bury Fanny. The godfather tried to comfort him, but Lucas doesn't listen to anything now, does he? Christmas Eve, Lucas came to the supermarket to buy pork chops, but the staff refused to sell it to him, and he punched him in the face. But Lucas insists he has a right to be here. The people around him are very unfriendly to him, threw him out like a piece of trash. Lucas was beaten and his head was bleeding, but he didn't run away. Instead, it's back to the supermarket.
Har jeg ikke sagt til dig, at du skal smutte herfra? Det er sidste gang, jeg siger det til dig.
Jeg skal bare lige sige noget til dig.
Enten har en gang i dig.
Det er sgu da ikke rigtig klogt. Okay. Så vil jeg gerne have mine ting.
Giv mig bare hans vej.
Lucas finally settled the bill, left the supermarket. This Sarah hanger is also nearby. He saw his old friend in such a state, be against one's conscience. Claire asked Fanny. In the darkness, Lucas heard the church bell. He stepped through the door of the church smartly dressed. But everyone sees him as a plague. When people begin to pray, Lucas looked back at Hill. His eyes gradually filled with tears. Then the kindergarten children come out to perform the song. Claire was among them. With the children singing, Lucas could not restrain himself at last. With tears in his eyes, he threw the Bible at Simon.
Vil du sige noget til mig?
Hold op, Lukas.
Vil du sige noget til mig?
Hvad?
Kom nu!
Hold op, Lukas. Tag det roligt.
Hele byen står og hører på dig, mand.
Hold af, Lukas.
Kom! Hvad vil du sige, mand? Stop ham!
Det kan du godt lige holde op med, en fucking psykopat!
Jeg har lov til lige at snakke med Theo. Prøv at kigge ind i mine øjne. Kig ind i mine øjne. Kig. Hvad kan du se? Kan du se noget? Hvad siger du? Hvad? Ingenting. Der er ingenting. Der er ingenting. Det skal lade mig være nu, det skal jeg. Ej, helt altid, du skal sgu lade mig være nu. Okay? Så går jeg, tak.
After what I've been through, appreciate. There is too much malice in the world. But if we support each other, the bad will stay away. Claire explains, I just said something stupid. Lucas didn't do anything. The fairies brought Lucas food. Actually, he does have a spare key. Lucas says the food was good. He is free to go, but the fairy said I wanted to stay. If you agree. The two fell into silence. A year later, at Marcus's bar mitzvah, everyone reached the semblance of a settlement. The godfather said to Marcus, and now the gun is yours. But you have to be careful how you use it. At dinner, Lucas saw Claire again. He's still fretting about the flip-flop. Lucas says, how do we get there without trampling? Claire replied that he did not know. Too much. Lucas thought for a moment. He held Claire in his arms. Lucas had his son hunting in the woods. He told Marcus to stay here, and he went in search of prey. As he approached the deer, a bullet went through his hair and lodged in a tree trunk. Round and round, Lucas could not see the man's face. Maybe it's just a coincidence, but apparently the adult was not aware of the gun in his hand. How dangerous it is! The Hunt is directed by Thomas Vinterberg, a Danish film starring Mads Mikkelsen. The dialogue is in Danish. Obesity is presented to the audience that destroy a person. In order to let the audience feel the mood of the protagonist, the film was shot with a handheld camera. It has a texture similar to that of a documentary. On the script, it basically revolves around the experiences of the main character Lucas. What happens to the characters drives the story. Sometimes they pass on stories of accidents. It's hard to predict what's going to happen. It gives a sense of the reality of the experience. It is said that the story of this film, it came from a Danish psychiatrist, information sent to the director, so there should be a prototype in reality. The story tells of a divorced middle-aged man because of the lies of a little girl into a petty scandal. For a time, the whole town turned their noses up at him, although the court acquitted him for lack of evidence. But retaliation has not gone away. The supermarket refused to sell food to him. Strangers also raided his home. Even his pet dog was killed. He became the land of the gods. They were prey to everyone. It started with the little girl's lies. In fact, a lot of times, it's not what they look like. Children are not who we think they are. Unblemished. Claire's lies is the proximate cause of the Lucas tragedy. But in fact, it is not so much that children are evil. Rather, they don't know what is good and evil. They follow natural instincts, act in favor of advantage, and avoid disadvantage. But they can't really imagine it. The serious consequences of the matter, and this ultimately, there may be no limits to what they do. But in fact, if the child can really understand what are the possible consequences of their actions, they tend not to make malicious choices. So for children, the most important thing is through educational means, to make them understand the consequences as soon as possible. I have some experience in this matter. In fact, if you get close to children's lives, they're just like the adult population. There will also be a fight for voice. And then there's the clique. They may lie under pressure. The world of a child is not flawless. For adults, there is a very important implication. Children's words are not to be believed unconditionally. Let's talk about adults after kids. On this part, I'm afraid that's what the movie wants to say more. In fact, the most damage to the protagonist, grown-ups who had nothing to do with it. Leaving a message is terrible, but the scariest of all are those who have no judgment. It's all about accepting the irrelevant. They have their own simple sense of justice. To condemn Lucas, they never seem to think about it. If I hurt an innocent man, all they have to do is get more people believe what they believe. Let their so-called justice do great justice. And this, it reminds me of a term in social psychology, group intensification. Simply put, it's a collective decision. It's more extreme than one person's judgment. Start with the dean, then there's the psychiatrist, then there are the parents, even those children who imagine themselves as victims, and then the whole town, the way everyone treated Lucas. Every day it gets worse. A lie leads to more details of a crime. The temperament varies from one person to many people. Suddenly it seemed like everyone was a victim. In fact, while watching this movie, naturally, I thought of Michael Jackson. He did it in 1993 and 2003, twice referred to child molestation. The two accusations left him emotionally and physically exhausted. Like the one in 1993, 12 years old, Chandler was invited to Jackson's house. His father then injected the boy with one sedative hypnotic Ematola. Let the child rule Jackson sexually abused, so you can claim a lot of money if the child refuses. His father beat him violently. The police investigated and found no evidence, but the father gave a statement from the child. Fanning the flames in the media, where the trial may be biased, Michael Jackson chose $23.3 million settlement out of court. Years later, the boy told the truth. It clears Jackson's name. But at this point, Jackson's image has been badly damaged by publicity. Hit the bottom, and then 3 years later, a second boy has filed a molestation suit against Jackson. This time Jackson would not back down to the death. After more than a year of investigation, Jackson was found not guilty. But another's golden career. It's been a painful myth. The charges have faded. These events, it inevitably influenced his creation. We can all imagine that today. He's in the middle of that charge. How did he come along in the midst of all the insults? Talked about a lot of topics that didn't seem relevant to the movie. But what the movie is trying to tell us, it really is such a suffocating and the tragedy of fun. The name will always haunt Lucas. Let alone gossip. The natural law of breaking a leg and denying rumors, even if the rumor does reach someone else. At last it became clear that he was innocent. The label of temperament, it could be stuck in someone else's subconscious. Maybe just one day, and then he gave Lucas the benefit of the doubt. The title of the film is The Hunt. This corresponds to a small town tradition. Every time a boy comes of age, he's gonna get a gun of his own. The godfather said to him, Marcus, you are an adult. You got your hunting license. The sun rises tomorrow. This gun is yours to keep. You will be a real man. But you have to be careful how you use it. The deer stayed quiet in the woods. The deer is singing. The hunter is in the dark. But one shotgun was enough to kill the deer. At the end of the story, Lucas, the hero, sees deer. It didn't break the gun. Maybe after what I've been through, he seems to be on a lonely road. There was some compassion. But distant power is like a shotgun. One shot could kill someone. The Godfather's line at the end. It was also addressed to the audience. Speech is a very sharp weapon, like a shotgun, because society thinks adults have the ability to distinguish between right and wrong. So it's okay to talk. The irony is, actually, the little girl insisted many times that she was nonsense, but the grown-up think it's a post-trauma kind of thing. Stress response. So even adults can't tell right from wrong. But anyway, those of us who have faced hold out as adults, before the shot is fired, you really need to be cautious and cautious, because that's shotgun talk. It could have killed someone. If you don't know the facts, try to be skeptical. Don't let these information that could affect someone else's reputation. Diffusion. This could be someone with a gun problem. Proper practice. But alas, not everyone does.